tubes of the mycorrhizal fungi that exist everywhere underneath the ground. They're like the tree of life in Avatar, foundations of ecosystems. We have to save the large old trees. Each valley oak is a micro ecosystem of its own that provides food, cover, and nesting substrate, and the largest cavities available to countless species. Nest cavities are scarce these days. Birds fight to the death for them and sometimes fail to reproduce for lack of them. Bullock's orioles are one of our most brilliantly colored birds. Soon they'll be arriving in Willits exhausted and hungry from flying thousands of miles to get here from as far south as Costa Rica. The existence of the trees they nest and forage in every year is vital to them, and the lack of them could make the difference between life and death. Some of their oaks are already gone. Festoons of the lichen Ramalina menzizii, also called lace lichen or fishnet lichen, what we call Spanish moss, drip in astonishing quantities from the oaks along the route of the bypass. Ramalina removes sulfur from our air, fertilizes soil, becomes food for mammals and nest material for birds. It lets us know when our air is polluted by dying. It can't survive in polluted air. Valley oaks are possibly literally an irreplaceable part of our natural heritage in Mendocino County.
Excuse me.
We cannot afford to take them for granted simply because they have little value as lumber. We must protect them as we would our own children or grandparents, who also have very little value as lumber. Thank you.
Thank you for this opportunity to be here. My name is William White, and I came to the community of Willits about 25 years ago. And I think one of the reasons was that I heard it was the last pristine agricultural valley in California. I live in the valley. There's a farm next to us. They're grazing cattle across the way and sheep down the road. And it's paradise to me. And so I took it upon myself to help to be a soldier in this anti-Caltrans bypass. And so I've been doing tabling, and I'd like to tell you some of my experiences. I've been tabling outside stores and the post office, and we've gotten, by the way, including online signatures, we're almost at 3,000. The people that come up to the table often that are not so advised about what's really going on. What I do, I have a table and I have a map, a colored map of Caltrans. And when I show them, they want to know what the alternative would be, and I sort of sketch it out with my finger. And so there's the proposed bypass by Caltrans, and I point out to them that it's 6 miles long. It'll take 6 years to build. It's about 2 stories high, or 20 feet, and it stretches out into the valley, disturbing about 1,200 acres of agricultural land. And it has no off-ramp to Highway 20. And they say, what? Excuse me? No. And that really stops them. And furthermore, I tell them that 70% of the traffic is local, and a lot of it goes to the coast on 20. So it's going to have to come down Main Street 101 to 20, going north to the 20 exit, irregardless, because the proposed bypass has no off-ramp for 20. So it's not about Willits, it's not about our traffic, it's just getting through. All right, so I tell them also that the 30% of the traffic that does come out of the north side of the town, as those numbers have actually diminished in the last 5 years. So,
Mr. White, could
yes.
you wrap up, please, sir?
Yes.
Thanks.
So those are the statistics, and I'm telling you, jaws drop and people sign. And we've got almost 3,000 signatures now, including online. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. White. Carol Orton, followed by Sandy Marshall.
My name's Carol Orton. I live in Willits, been there for over 35 years. I've brought you gifts. I'm going to make it real quick, so you're going to get pictures that you can read about, and then you're going to get a map that you can look at. I want to start by saying there is no dispute that an alternate truck route must be developed around and through Willits. There's a lot of small towns. If you drive around the state of California, you'll see alternate truck route signs in lots of lovely places. I want one of those signs north and south. The picture that I just passed out shows a highway that was built in San Francisco in the 1950s that turned out to be the wrong one. Some of you may have been around for this. That freeway was supposed to connect the Bay Bridge with the Golden Gate Bridge running along the waterfront. It was built around 8 feet away from the majestic ferry building. It was so horrific to the people of San Francisco that they staged what is now known as the Freeway Revolt. A lot of petitions were signed, marches, and so forth and so on. And in 1991, it was torn down to again reveal the ferry building. I show this to encourage you to realize that it is not too late to pause and examine alternatives. Some of the alternatives could be implemented virtually overnight, such as restriping the 101/20 intersection. I didn't give you a map of that. You can come to Willits and see it yourself. A roundabout at this location could certainly be built in a shorter time than it would take to complete the massive current projected bypass. Roundabouts make traffic flow continuous, relieving the emissions from stop-and-go traffic. The little map I gave you, modeling the Bechtel Road Avenue alternate route, that's actually not that map. That little map shows you a half-mile of roadway at the railroad crossing, which would give us 2 lanes for an alternate truck route right through Willits. I've got 20 seconds. In Willits, the railroad easement is 150 feet wide and wider in some places. There should be plenty of room for both 2-lane truck route and 2 sets of rails. Probably we'll get some trails in there too. This alternate truck route will provide, will not require removal of any buildings. It will take a bit of time to construct, but meanwhile we could relieve an enormous amount of traffic by doing the restriping. Willits has waited long enough for good leadership, and relief can come sooner with some alternatives. Thank you very much for listening to me. Think alternative truck route, vote alternative truck route, build an alternative truck route. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Carol. Sandy Marshall, followed by...
I'm here personally, board and community. Please say no to the bypass. I'm also speaking for Holly Madrigal, the mayor of Willits. She says, I would like to thank Supervisor Pinchas for bringing this item up for full board discussion today. I wish I could be there to express my comments in person. The Willits Bypass project is the biggest, most expensive project in our area's history. It remains the most important issue facing our local government during my tenure on the council. This project has been in the works since before I was born, so I hold my share of cynicism. Many in the community have expressed frustration that at this late hour some residents are choosing to voice their opposition. I researched this claim and found that in the time the public was allowed to comment on the record was back in 2002 during the EIR process. There was a supplemental EIR, but the scope was limited to the topic of endangered grasses. There have been open houses held by Caltrans, but these did not allow for public statements to be recorded. I mention this because some of the people protesting have located here after their ability to affect this project. Similarly, many lifelong residents have lost track of the current project, its status after a decade or more of revisions, funding allocations, funding retractions, project cost increases, and scope changes. Even today, I talk with constituents who are not aware that there is no Highway 20 exit and that the funded phase only has 2 unseparated lanes. I have been frustrated by the rhetoric on both sides of this issue. The protesters make it sound as if the project moving forward will be an equivalent of a bomb going off in Little Lake Valley. Willits will survive even if this project moves forward. The citizens supporting the bypass are understandably eager to get local folks to work, but are not looking at the long-term economic impacts of the town and its businesses. I just spoke with members of the Cloverdale City Council who will state that the city is still experiencing the fiscal hit of losing their through traffic. Safety personnel I've consulted with are strategizing how to handle the expected collisions when responders will need to choose which end of town to approach an accident. In their usual can-do way, they're considering having a ladder truck that will reach up to the middle of the causeway.
Sandy, I need you to wrap up, dear. Sandy, could you wrap up, please?
It's the mayor.
I'm speaking for the mayor, sir.
I understand, Sandy. Please finish. No, we're not, excuse me, sir, we're not ceding time. Would you please wrap up?
You just took 25 seconds off of your time.
Pass it to the next person.
Deep breath. The Willits City Council takes some responsibility for the delay in action to connect Railroad Avenue and Bechtel Road. This alternative route is supported by the entire council. It would require no removal of homes and would drastically improve our local traffic flow problems. Caltrans estimates only 30% of the traffic will be alleviated. Please.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, filled out Mendocino Council of Governments. To cut down on time, you have my written comments. The US 101 bypass of Willits has been the #1 highway improvement priority of the Mendocino Council of Governments for over 3 decades. It has been supported consistently by the MCOG board, the Mendocino County Board of Supervisors, the Brook Trails Board, and the City of Willits. There's also longstanding support from the Humboldt County Association of Governments, the City of Eureka, City of Arcata, the City of Fortuna, and former Congressman Thompson. Controversy over this project continues because opponents of the project continue to circulate legitimate concerns regarding this project, but fail to acknowledge that these concerns have been addressed, in many cases years ago. These concerns have been addressed to the extent that the 3 permitting agencies responsible for resource protection, the North Coast Water Quality Control Board, California Department of Fish and Game, and the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers are satisfied and have issued necessary construction permits. The public process for the project was long and grueling, but it is complete. The EIR was certified in 2006. Permits and construction funding secured 1 year ago, and construction is now underway. I respectfully caution the Board of Supervisors from engaging in debate on the merits of the project when the appropriate period for debate has long since expired. Applicable procedures have been followed, and now construction is underway. Just one other word. I know that there's petitions going around. In 2007, then Commissioner of the California Transportation Commission, Jim Gilmetti, said he received 30 or 40 letters regarding this particular bypass project, and he was concerned about it. He asked if there was any local support. In just a 2-week period, I called some people up, some supporters of the project, and they delivered to Commissioner Gilmetti almost 600 letters, and I still keep these copies right here. So there is widespread support for the project as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Ellen, please.
Thank you for extending the comment period into the afternoon, Chairman Hamburg. I have
I sent all of you via email a revised letter to send to Malcolm Dougherty, and it used some of the same language, but the message was there is considerable controversy over this project, and we want the opportunity and the time to come to a resolution that is acceptable to the people of Willits, to the people of Mendocino County, as well as to the interregional travelers. So I would urge you to send this alternative letter to Malcolm Dougherty and to take the time that is obviously needed to truly, honestly, candidly discuss this issue. The fact that the chair felt this would be a routine item is an indication of how broad the gap is between the sentiment in Willits and our elected officials. And I think we all have to dedicate ourselves now to work really, really, really hard as quickly as possible to be communicating with each other. There is a very long history to this project. My name is Ellen Drell. I'm not sure I said that, but I went to my first Caltrans bypass meeting in 1988. And I am very familiar with the history, and it's a dismal one. It's mainly a history of Caltrans refusing to take seriously alternatives. Caltrans refuses to the 30, 12, 20, who knows how many alternatives that were considered. But in fact, as early as 2002, when the draft environmental impact statement and report came out, all but four four-lane freeway alternatives, plus the no build, had been eliminated from serious consideration. Only the four-lane freeway alternatives were quantitatively analyzed and compared to one another. Only those four alternatives were compared in terms of costs, environmental damage, impacts to the business community, impacts to housing, and air pollution, water pollution, costs, you know, the whole gamut of things that can be quantified. Their capacities, their ability to resolve traffic issues, all the things that were able to be quantified and that rose to a serious level of analysis were only applied to four-lane freeway alternatives. The alternatives have been floating around and asked over and over again by the citizens to be taken seriously have been dismissed, and were dismissed early on. This one, the Bechtel Road Railroad Avenue connection, finally was put together in a very credible conceptual plan. But I was at the city council meeting when Mr. Dow came and advised the city council not to come to MCOG asking funding for this project until after the bypass was built. So over the years, the serious alternatives were never brought to the public, never analyzed, and so as a result, it has always been Willits, you either suffer with the traffic congestion that you have, or you get this four-lane mega bypass that has the capacity, by the way, for 40 to 60,000 vehicles a day going around Willits at 70 miles an hour. Ludicrous, not a scenario any of you want. I know that. You all consider yourself conservationists, all care about the environment of Mendocino County. You don't want 60,000 vehicles zooming around Willits at 70 miles an hour. That's a future that condemns the young people in this room. So I plead with you, do not send this letter. Give us some time, 2 to 3 weeks, to sit down with you, to talk seriously, analytically, quantitatively about these alternatives.
Thank you,
Let's
Ellen.
come up with a real solution.
Thank you, Ellen. Thank you, Ellen. Rosamond Crowder.
My name is Rosamond Crowder. I'm an artist. I live south of Willits. I'm presenting you with a graph of average annual daily traffic on Highway 101. This graph was compiled using figures from the Caltrans website. Here you can see that traffic north of Willits is really very small, especially compared with traffic south of us. Like, for instance, there's Santa Rosa with 120,000 up there. This traffic north of Willits is the through traffic. Actually, it's a little more than the through traffic, because some of the traffic is people coming and going from Laytonville and Covelo who don't go all the way to Ukiah, but never mind that. It works for a basic idea of what the traffic on a bypass would amount to. The number, when translated to vehicles per day, is about 8,000 vehicles. You can see it has not increased at all since 1992. Here is a picture of what 8,000 vehicles per day looks like. This one. These pictures are taken from a webcam that lives 1 mile north of Willits and posts a picture every half hour or so at www.video.dot.ca.gov. I invite you to go regularly and have a look at that video cam. These pictures were taken at 5:30 p.m. This is rush hour. Caltrans designed a 4-lane freeway because they claim this 2-lane road is not good enough. A 4-lane freeway is designed to carry 40,000 vehicles per day. It reaches capacity at 80,000 vehicles per day. Can you see how it is overbuilt? All the rhetoric in the world does not change what we see on the ground. One poorly designed intersection in a small town of under 5,000 people does not justify this amazing expenditure of money and loss of 1/3 of the farmland in Little Lake Valley. It's not too late to support alternatives to keep tourist dollars in town, return land to ranchers, and keep a 6-mile-long overpass from destroying the rural character of our valley.
Thank you very much, Rosamond. Kim?
Hello, Board.
Please.
My name's Kim Bancroft. I'm a former teacher. I taught for 29 years in urban situations. I have had property here for 25 years, and finally 2 years ago decided to move to lovely Willits to enjoy a different way of life. And since then, I have become one of the informed people who understands now why we are against the bypass. For 20 years, I asked people, what's happening with the bypass? Oh, it's never going to happen. It's caught up in court cases, there's a lot of controversy, and so that's one reason why it has come to this point when we are finally learning about what's happened. And I'm one of the ignorant ones until 6 weeks ago or 8 weeks ago when Warbler got up in that tree very bravely to say to the world, we must stop an injustice that is going to happen to this town. I had no idea what the bypass was about. You have heard from all of these people here about the scientific impact, the environmental impact, the economic impact, the 55,000 drilling holes was the one that really got to me, and the emptying of the water in what was Little Lake Valley. But aside from that, all of these folks have spoken for those points, so I don't need to reiterate them. There's a lot of anger here about the trees coming down, the lives that are impacted. When you say it's a done deal, that feels to many of us like the Nazis marching through with the tanks. And seriously, looking at what's going to happen to the hillsides, to the water, the cement trucks coming through. I stood up once a week holding signs on the freeway under Warbler's tree, and people would either flip me off or support. The people flipping me off and giving a thumbs down was 1 out of 6. And in a very unscientific response, I saw a lot of support coming for the people who were protesting the bypass. I don't think we've even begun to hear all of the voices of people in Willits who are just beginning to learn, as people here have said, about what this bypass means. I certainly didn't know. And I think this is just the beginning of an opportunity for a new period for having public comment and understanding what's going to happen once we see the actual trucks come through, the chainsaws take the trees down, and the lives impacted. Thank you.
Thank you, Kim. Rose Dressier-Jevons, followed by David Rapp.
Hello, my name is Rose Reiser-Jevons, and I'm 13 years old. To prepare for this meeting today, I read the mission statement for the Board of Supervisors. Some in the audience may not know it, so I shall share it with you now. The Mendocino County Board of Supervisors' mission is to create and maintain a responsive and responsible government that enhances the quality of life of the people of Mendocino County. The county's mission is to deliver services that meet public safety, health, social, culture, education, transportation, economic, and environmental needs of our communities. I have also studied the precautionary principle, which is Mendocino County Policy Number 43, Part E, says that you are supposed to look at all the available options, assess the long and short-term costs and benefits to the health and the natural environment, and ask, is the potentially harmful activity necessary? What less harmful options are there? And how little damage is possible? The current bypass design is the worst possible option for the people and environment of Mendocino County. Anyone truly studying the facts can see that it is an environmental disaster of catastrophic proportions. Caltrans admits that it will cause the failure of about 20% of the businesses in Willits, which means the loss of jobs, tax revenues, and quality of life. And Caltrans even says that the bypass won't solve the traffic problem for which it is designed, because Highway 101 and Highway 20 intersection will be a disaster, and that is a great part of what is causing the problem. I have read the letter to the Caltrans director that you would like to gather support for today. If you support that letter, you will be voting against the precautionary principle that is supposed to guide your decisions. If you support the letter, you will be voting for great harm in the Willits economy. And you will be voting to destroy the environment of the Willits Valley. This bypass is Darth Vader and Lord Voldemort, ready to destroy all in its path. I believe that this is your last chance to stand up for what is right. I urge you to take this last opportunity to do what is right for the people and environment that you were voted to represent and protect. Do not approve this letter to Caltrans director. Let your inner Jedi Knight do what is right. Revoke your support for the bypass. And as you cast your vote, please remember this. No matter how far down the wrong path you have traveled, it is never too late to turn back.
Thank you, Rose. Okay.